Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Tyra Olstad, a geographer, park ranger, cave guide, and summit stewardess. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about climate change, more specifically, glaciers of Alaska. Now, the reason I want to discuss this topic is because I recently went to Alaska and was leading a hike with some other park rangers. It was sunny, very sunny. It was, The trip started off pretty average with foggy skies, rainy, snowy climate, but then out of nowhere, it became sunny, and it was sunny for 6 days straight. At first, we really liked the sun. It warmed our bones, and it was a nice change of pace. But by the end, I started to get nervous. The sun was more than average, and it was melting the icebergs, something that we had all come here to see. Now, I want to talk about some numbers, specifically the glaciers of Alaska. Now, it's estimated that Alaska contains anywhere from 27,000 to 100,000 glaciers. And of these, 10,000 of them are in the country's northmost and second largest national forest. They cover 5.4 million acres, and 90% of these glaciers are retreating. Now, the sad thing is Alaska is warming faster than anywhere else in the world. And it's predicted that in the next 50 years, it's going to warm by about 3 to 3.5 Celsius. This is going to tilt us over the freezing point, which means that there's going to be less snowfall and more rain, and you can't make glaciers out of rain. The process is only going to speed up because the more that the glaciers melt, the more that the rock below them gets exposed. If the sun heats up these rocks, they start to melt the glaciers even faster. Now, I often get asked when I'm leading tours in Alaska by tourists, where did the glacier go? They simply can't believe that the glacier was there last time they were here and now has receded that much in such a short period of time. Now, I've never met anyone who doesn't deny that the glacier is melting, but I have met a lot of people that deny that humans play a role in it, which I find ridiculous. Now, because there's this recent risk of global warming and the glaciers melting, people want to come see the glaciers before they melt more than ever. And there has been a massive new influx of tourism and people coming to Alaska to see the glaciers. Now, I like to call this disaster tourism. Now, what disaster tourism is people flocking to see something because of a disaster. And the tourism is also contributing to the disaster. Now, in 2017, over 2 million people visited Alaska, which is more than 3 times the state's population. The visitors that visited Alaska spent nearly $3 billion, and accounting for taxes, labor income, had an overall economic impact of $4.5 billion. But all this tourism means flying, driving, and using a lot of carbon emissions. In 2013, total tourism-related activities, including transportation, hotels, souvenirs, food, etc., had a global carbon footprint of the equivalent of 4.5 gigatons of CO2. Traveling is what I believe to be the single-handedly most detrimental thing that a person can do to affect climate change. I often have this guilty feeling in the back of my mind as I lead tours. I wonder if traveling the world and contributing to destroying it is worth to see what we're going to see in the first place. We are literally ruining the very thing we have come to see. Back to my trip, after 2 weeks of no rain, it finally rained. Everybody rejoiced, but I wasn't as optimistic, because it didn't rain for another 3.5 weeks after that. As summer raged on, fires started, and with no rain to put it out, a gray foggy haze lay over the sky. The smokes and fires ravaged the environment, killing lots of fish in the water and leaving a stained gray-purple haze on the glaciers. This affected food chains and killed many animals, but some were able to resist and adapt. For me, I was barely able to look at the glaciers, gleaming in the sunshine, slowly melting before my eyes. When I finally went back to leading tours, I noticed the massive blue glacier. It was floating separately from the other one. I was amazed by its size, but I was sad to see how it had detached from the main one, and since it was floating separately, it would melt. Later, me and a fellow coworker, park ranger, took some kayaks, and we paddled out to get a closer look. When I got close to it, I was overcome by emotions. Fury, fear, confusion, and joy. I didn't know how to react. It was such a beautiful sight, but so sad at the same time.